Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that break. If you are just tuning in, it has been a busy show. Tons of breaking news, tons of breaking signings in the NFL. We've been covering all of that on a super busy day, a day where I still have not been able to catch my breath on this. I'm sure you guys haven't either if you're keeping up with the news. It has been insane. Uh, like I was saying, we are going to continue our NFL coverage, finishing the show off with some trades. Uh, as over 80 players have already been signed today. It's been crazy. It's been as this is the most wild start to free agency that I can personally remember. It's been a long time. Free agency obviously has been ramping up recently, especially with the increasing coverage over it. But 80 players in just the first 12 hours of it being open is crazy to me. That is, it's probably going to slow down, but we're going to have to take a look and see. There's been some big wide receiver trades or wide receiver demanding trades. We're going to cover that as well as some more breaking news in this segment. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net, leave a tip or donation. It'll show up on the screen for you, me, everyone in the world to see. Leave a message in there. Again, that link is gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation. We appreciate everything that you guys do give, and we appreciate you guys for watching. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on some of these free agency moves. It's going to be a more organized show tomorrow, but so much is going on right now. We're going to continue to cover the breaking news as well as wide receiver trades. The big trade news and the one that went through earlier this weekend, that being Jerry Jeudy, former Broncos receiver, being traded to the Browns for a 5th round and a 6th round pick. The Broncos are clearing house right now. They are gearing for full rebuild mode. Sean Payton is keeping the team that he wants, getting rid of the team he does not. A lot of that was, getting rid of Jeudy was a lot of cap hit move, because the Broncos need to get under the cap due to them having an $85 million dead cap for Russell Wilson not being on their team. So that really puts some constraints on them. But they are making trades. Getting a 5th and a 6th for him is a little disappointing, especially a guy that you drafted in the 1st round and a guy that has been relatively productive. Now, he hasn't been the greatest wide receiver in the league. He hasn't been, he hasn't even really lived up to Courtland Sutton, but he's been a really solid wide receiver too. And that's what the Browns bring him in for. They bring him next to Amari Cooper, and with those two guys combined, they've traded 2 6ths and a 5th for them. So to get two pretty good wide receivers, they didn't really have to give too much up, and that's great job by the Browns front office and everything that they've been doing on that offense to build around the mess of a quarterback situation that they have after giving Deshaun Watson that huge deal. That's the big news. I think it's a great move for the Browns. The Browns were on my short list for a team that could use a solid wide receiver too. They were on my short list for Calvin Ridley. Them and the Chiefs were my top 2 teams for him. They filled that need. They can still go ahead and get a second receiver. They have Elijah Moore, who they went out and they got from the Jets last season, who was solid, but he's not the greatest. They traded away Donovan Peoples-Jones, and it's been kind of a mess at that wide receiver 3 position for them recently. But they have a very stacked wide receiver core. It's been very stacked wide receiver core for the Browns. Having Amari Cooper and bringing Jerry Jeudy in, that's going to be a really nice pairing. All right. But the bigger wide receiver trade news that we had, that would be the fact that T. Higgins requested a trade. T. Higgins, who was franchise tagged by the Bengals earlier this offseason, was the first major player to be free. Was the first major news of the offseason in the NFL. Was T. Higgins being franchise tagged. He now requests a trade. And there were already rumors that he would be traded. Uh, he wanted to stay in Cincinnati, but they have not even contacted him about getting a long-term deal done. He was disappointed by the way the talks were going, so he was requested a trade. And puts the Bengals in a very interesting spot because T. Higgins is the type of receiver that is rumored you can get a first round pick for, of maybe even a first and a second rounder. T. Higgins is an emerging star at wide receiver. He's trapped behind a top 5 receiver in the NFL in Jamar Chase. So he has that wide receiver 2 status tagged onto him. But he goes to almost any other team. He is a wide receiver 1. He's arguably a top 10 receiver in the league. I won't go that far. He's definitely a top 20 receiver in the league. Um, T. Higgins is very, very good. And the Bengals losing him and most likely losing Tyler Boyd is not the greatest for that offense. An offense that, while they still have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they are taking some hits. Joe Mixon is only getting older. He kind of took a step back last year. It hasn't been, and without Joe Burrow, that offense was not very good, to say it politely. But wide receiver trades, where are we looking for places for T. Higgins to go? We need to look at teams that would be willing to trade their first round pick for T. Higgins, because that's the reported compensation right now. You have teams like the Panthers who have been rumored to be in the wide receiver trade talks all season long, trying to get some help for Bryce Young. You have a team like the you have a team like the excuse me. You have a team like the Chargers, who might be looking to clear some cap. You're looking at some moves in the future coming up soon, having to deal with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, trying to get them below the cap. It's not the best situation for them. They're most likely going to have to cut one of them. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Maybe they'll trade there. The Colts just signed Michael Pittman Jr. to a big deal, 3 years, $37 million. He got franchise tag again. He got that extension done. The Colts have been very good about getting their guys, locking them up. That's been one of their philosophies. Um, and he's coming off a career year. I've talked about this a little bit. He is going to be huge for the development of Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, whose biggest knock against him is accuracy. Having a big target with the hands like Michael Pittman Jr. are going to be massive for him. A guy that you can just kind of throw it up to, jump ball situation. He's going to win. He's going to win 70% of those. Very big, very strong, very fast receiver. Great red zone threat. He's deserving of that big contract that he got. It's been a lot of stuff going on in the NFL. Tomorrow, we are going to have a more put together recap of the show, I would say. Talk about, we'll have time to take a breath, something we haven't really had time to do today, as over 80 players have been signed on the day. But we'll take a break. Be back tomorrow with our thoughts collected. Do a better recap, a bigger, more complete recap of the first day of the NFL free agency being open. Talk about some of the bigger moves and all that. Tune in then. We thank you everybody so much for tuning in to today's episode of Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We'll be back tomorrow. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.